Mom Knows Best, a Mother's Day chat with my kindergarten teacher mom.
Welcome to the Mothers of Boys Survival Guide podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today for a very special Mother's Day episode. Every mom's journey is unique and every child is different, but the questions we face as moms are surprisingly timeless. Every week we try to answer our listeners' questions by talking with the experts. I'm Cheryl Bond, and I'm joined by Susie Shaw, my good friend and author of the popular book, Mothers of Boys Survival Guide. Hey, Suze.
Hello, Cheryl. I don't know about you, but sometimes Mother's Day was just a real zoo.
Yes.
One of the stories in my book is called Mutter's Day, because that's how my boys pronounced it when they were young, Mutter, M-U-D-D-E-R. It was such a crazy day, and I have shared that story on the mothersofboys.life website so that everyone can have a good laugh. It's right out of the book. Go check it out if you need some entertainment. I also talk about my mom a lot in the book, and she is with us today for this very, very special Mother's Day podcast. Mom, welcome.
Hey.
Good morning, ladies. How you doing?
One of our best guests ever.
Thank you. Goodness.
So my mom, Barbie Shaw, aka Nana, sometimes Nana Dana, has seen it all. She began her career as a kindergarten teacher and then had myself and my brother, Steve. And one of my mom's rules that helped me when the kids were little was never argue, distract. So, Mom, did you learn that teaching kindergarten?
Distract was very good, Change the subject, sing a song, get into a conversation, keep going, let's go. What are we doing?
And that was a kindergarten strategy?
Yeah. Do a finger play, get them interested in their fingers or change the direction. My hands touch just myself. That was my favorite for kindergarten.
Can you
Back
elaborate on that a little bit?
kindergartners love to touch themselves and everybody near them, and they just cannot keep themselves. And so I always have them touch their self and say, "My hands touch just myself." And we meant it, and I could just go like this, and they would say it.
So, Mom, there are lots of stories that we heard from your time in kindergarten, and I asked my cousin Janice which one was her favorite, and she said hers was the story, and maybe you can tell it right now, of when you were teaching or student teaching, and you had the principal come in and watch your class.
The supervisor was there that day, and I had this dear little boy, and he had a glass eye, and only I knew it. None of the children knew anything about it. And they were all sitting there with the supervisor looking, and the little girl said, "Miss Shaw, Michael put his eye in his mouth." And I said, "Michael, put your eye back in this minute." Went right on with the conversation. Whatever I was saying, I went on with it. And apparently the supervisor almost fell over.
Yeah, that's a good story. There's lots of good stories in the book. And one of the things that I thought was really great and created so many memories for your kids was that you would make just normal, everyday things fun and a big deal. Like you would call a hike a foxy loxy, or you'd give them peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and that was a Nicky Hokey, and you would sing songs. And so, do you remember that song?
Well, Nicky Hokies were the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches my husband used to fix when he went in the Air Force to fly an airplane. So we always had Nicky Hokies, and we'd say, It's Nikki Hokey time. It's Nikki Hokey time.
So Susie, do you do that with did you do that with your kids? Was that
Yeah,
something that was passed down?
I did not necessarily sing "It's Nicky Hokey Time," but we definitely would go on Foxy Loxies with the kids, which are really just a hike. And the the goal was to look for my grandfather's friend, Roland Q. Fox, also known as Foxy Loxy, who lived in the woods. So we were always looking for Foxy Loxy, and we still, whenever we see a red fox, we call him Foxy Loxy.
Yeah. I did actually, that reminds me, I got a little teddy bear, and my kids remember this. I would get a little teddy bear cookie cutter and make my peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that way, and use little like chocolate chips for the eyes and different things, and then there'd always be a little surprise underneath. So,
I know, whatever we can do to get him to eat, right?
hmm
So, Mom, Dad was in the Air Force when I was little and my brother was little, and you were often trying to figure it out by yourself, the whole, young mother thing. Do you have any advice for military moms or moms who are trying to figure out how to be a mom early?
Well, I just think you put one foot in front of the other and go slowly out the door. It's just you know you've got it all and you take it all and go with it. Uh, just keep to keep your kids happy. That was important,
hmm
and by keeping them happy, I was happy. So it's just that way.
hmm Was there a secret to keeping them happy?
Keeping them busy. My
Oh,
children
that's
needed to
good.
be busy, and
Yeah.
but I wasn't a creative mother that set them down to crayon and cut and paste and all that. I I'd take them out in the woods and collect acorns or something like that. My kids
Oh.
were we like to go outside a lot, and we and they learn the names of leaves, and I just like to keep them busy, keep myself busy.
hmm Well, that's good advice. Is there a Mother's Day that stands out to you throughout the years?
My children were determined this one year to have a very special Mother's Day, and I heard them making plans with the backyard neighbor. They had 4 kids. I had 2, and they were planning. So I heard them out in my yard picking all my flowers so they could decorate the back porch with all my flowers, which I was
That's funny.
really liking, and I didn't want to pick them. Anyway, they were decorating. They had them hanging from the top of the ceiling. And so they also planned a morning invasion, and so they secretly got up, and they didn't know how to do much secretly, and they went to the kitchen and began to make pancakes with batter and milk and eggs and this and that, and they also emptied the cat food. Somehow the cat food got mixed in, and it just nauseated me. And by the time I got to eat my one pancake, the 4 backyard kids and their mother and father and Jim and I had it. It was exhausting. And so when it was all over, and I cleaned it all up, but
I
that
hope
was
they've
Mother's
gotten
Day.
better since then.
Yeah. Mother's Day scared the hell out of me after that.
I agree.
What next?
Mother's Day, the wheels could totally come off the bus.
Yeah. Oh my. It was 6 children trying their hardest.
So, Mom, I call the stage, one of the stages of the kids, the man cub stage, and that was really the toughest for me. And a man cub was really a teenager that is man size, but still incredibly immature and has a boy brain. And so, what was the hardest stage for you raising kids, and what are your lessons learned?
Well, we had just moved to a new house, I think, when Steve was getting to that age, and he had not formed his friends. They had in the new neighborhood. He didn't have a lot of friends, so that every time we went out, we felt like we were leaving him. So we were staying home more, and it was difficult for him. And I do remember that stage that he spent a lot of time trying to straighten his hair. And if you will look at my hair, it's the kind of hair that doesn't straighten. And so he he spent a lot of time trying to get ready for school with straight hair like everybody else.
I feel the whole straight hair thing, and I had moments when I tried to straighten my hair too. So thank you for giving Steve and I curly hair.
Yeah.
Um, um, so so Mom, one of our listeners has a son that's a biter. Do you have any advice for dealing with a child that bites?
Well, I had really distinct feeling about it because I had a biter. I had a biter. He used to bite you. But anyway, I finally just said that what you do is you bite them back. Then they
Yeah.
feel what they're doing. They don't know that feels. They just want to do it. So I bit him back, and that seemed to end the cycle.
Good job.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely not politically correct, but an effective
You're right.
method.
I don't think people would like it in this day and age.
Yeah. So this is kind of a big question, but I'm sure you've thought about it throughout the years as your kids grow. Um, is there was there any one particular lesson that you consider the most important that you taught your children? I mean, you
Well,
have great kids. You have two great kids.
well, I do.
So,
I
and
think
so there's lots of great lessons you've taught them, but is there any that was a priority for you, a standout?
well, each of them had a little lesson in honesty, and that was one. And we made it, we made it known that was not acceptable at all. And after that, honesty and loving and being good to each other and to our friends. That's important still.
I agree. Honesty and love.
And you and Dad are some of the best friends I think anybody could ever have, and that really taught myself and my brother how to be a good friend in order to have good friends. So I appreciate that lesson.
We had a book. It was called Peter Painter, and it was all about to have friends, you have to be a good friend. And I guess that's what you remember the most
Hmm. Yep,
about a
definitely.
deer, of a little boy and a deer.
Hmm.
Oh,
And what do you think boys need most from their moms, since this is primarily a podcast for mothers of boys?
I think honestly that they need a lot of love, more than you would think. But after that, I would say food. They need food. You just keep feeding them.
Very, very good tip. So, Mom, my son, who is called Ernest in the book, was your first grandchild, and you were on hand at both of my boys' deliveries. What was it? What did it feel like to watch new life come into the world?
I think it was the most wonderful moment of my life watching Jack born and Will too, but Jack was the first. I just think I felt wonderful. Like there is a God. I mean, how can this happen in any other way? And I still adore that moment. I was sitting right there, and it wasn't. It just they didn't just hand me the baby. He was just there, coming out, and gorgeous and fine and wonderful. I told him he was my favorite, and then I told all the rest of them that they were my favorites too. And they are my favorites. There's no difference. They all are my favorites.
and they know that that they are your favorite, and they would testify to it.
Yep.
Um,
Mm.
so your imagination, especially when the kids were little, you would take them to a little bridge and play poo sticks, and you would just lay on the bridge and watch the stream and drop sticks in the water. And you had sort of five grandchildren that you were doing all of that with. What do you think the the traditions are that you did with them that you hope that they will do with the next generation?
Oh my. Well, Pooh Sticks came right from Winnie the Pooh, and I think Winnie the Pooh taught a lot of us that the facts that that you just imagine that you relax and watch things float off, and I didn't make a big scene over everything. And those kids, some of them would just look at it and throw more in, and others would pretend they were fish, get a pretend fishing rod and fish away, and sometimes the dogs got involved with it. And it was a pleasurable time.
I did that with my children as well because we were very big Winnie the Pooh fans, and you can learn a lot of lessons from Winnie the Pooh and his friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, I used to sing every night. Christopher Robin is saying his prayers, and I would sing it and sing it and sing it so that Jack would go to sleep, and I'd bounce him up and down and sing it. And finally he said, "Enough, Nana, enough." Oh gosh.
What was it? What was that? I don't remember that.
Christopher Robin is saying his prayers. It was God bless mommy, I know that's right. Wasn't it fun in the bath tonight? The cold so cold, the hot so hot. God bless Nana, I quite forgot. Open my fingers a little bit more. I see Nana's dressing gown on the door. It's a beautiful blue, but it hasn't a hood. God
Mm.
bless Nana and make her good. On and on and on. And they just said, enough.
But I bet he'll sing that song to his children
He
someday.
does. He does. I
Yeah.
think Susie does too. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I don't think you intend for me to sing today.
we
I think
we knew singing was a quite possibility. How is being a grandmother different from than being a mom?
Well, it was easier. You just held back and tried to let my children handle their children, and I tried not to interfere. But I was all into having fun with them. I hope they'll remember me as somebody they had fun with. And it was different. It was different. Less responsibility, but you still have the same anxious feelings. And when somebody's sick, you most caring about it. So I love being a grandmother.
that's a very special relationship, I think, the grandmother and the grandchildren. And you can have such an influence on them, and it just provides so much love, safety, guidance, wisdom. So that's wonderful that you have time with them. Did you have any traditions when you were younger? Did your family have traditions?
Everything was Thanksgiving. I mean, we just made a big deal over Thanksgiving, and we always had a hike, and we always had to take an apple along and to eat it, and we like to be with my family or Jim's family. Try to get as much family, and we did love
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
We Santa Claus visited us several times, and it was just amazing when Susie, this one who wrote the book, looked at Santa Claus and said, "Mommy, Santa has a ring just like my daddy." That was very insightful, Susie.
What are the chances? So, Mom, we ask each one of our guests to share a motto or a thought that for moms that they can say to themselves. So, when you were trying to navigate some of the craziness of being a mom, what motto did you say to yourself during those times?
You really want to know?
I do. Yeah.
I always said, Patience, patience, little jackass. My sister said it to me when I was like 6 or 5, early. She would always say that to me, and I just passed it on to my children.
Well, thanks for that.
You're
Well,
quite welcome.
you've always been Mrs. Shaw to me. So
Good, thank you.
yeah. And it was such a pleasure to have you here today. And you are just full of joy, and you radiate love, and you've done an amazing job with your family, and you're just such a beautiful woman. So I'm honored to have known you and to have this conversation today. And I hope you do have a much better Mother's Day this year than way back when all your flowers were out of your garden. And,
You know, I have a feeling I was a flower picker my very self.
Thank you, Mom, for joining us. And we want to wish all of our listeners and our members of the mob, the Mothers of Boys, a very, very happy Mother's Day, and hope that you are feeling the love and getting the love that you deserve. We love you here.
and thank you all for joining us today. Follow the mob on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and your favorite podcast platform. Be kind to yourselves, moms, and have a great week.